Hi everyone, it's Gigi. Welcome back to Coherence University. Today we're going to dive into the basics and the core of Coherence University. We're going to talk about what coherence actually is and how it relates to heart coherence specifically. It sounds complex at first, but when you break it down, it is pretty simple. It's even taught in schools and for quick coherence techniques with first responders. So this is definitely possible. It's already attainable in you if you have a heart and a mind. Coherence is definitely achievable at a more frequent level for you. So let's start by talking about what coherence is exactly. It refers in science to a state of harmony and synchronization within any physical beings and matter, but specifically for us within our bodies, our hearts, and our minds. It's when everything is working together in perfect alignment, like a well orchestrated symphony. When we're in coherence, we experience increased mental clarity, emotional balance, and overall well being. So, what specifically is heart coherence? Well, as you already know, our heart plays a crucial role in achieving a coherent state, which is the rhythmic pattern of our heartbeat and when it becomes smooth and consistent. It's like a dance between our heart and our brain where they communicate and sync up with each other. They do this via the autonomic nervous system, the parasympathetic, which is more like your pause or your slow down, and your sympathetic, which is your speed. So your body throttles between the two at milliseconds between every heartbeat. And the more flexible it is, the quicker that it can shift and flex. And you're not locked into one side or the other, the parasympathetic or the sympathetic, the speed. It really represents a much more coherent state where we're able to make decisions better. We avoid something called cortical inhibition, where our signal system up in our brains actually get overloaded, and it stops us from being able to think and to shift out of certain stages. So we'll talk more about that later. There are different modalities and techniques to work through getting into a state of coherence, but one of the most tried and true and scientifically backed, which has always been important to me, I need to understand the results to be able to see them and measure them in some way, comes to us via the Heart Math Institute. So there are techniques that they teach that involve activating feelings in our heart and chest area. And it takes some practice to get there. It's very helpful to have a guide and also to do it in groups at times if you can. But you focus in the heart area of your body. Now you have a bundle of neurons in your heart. And we used to think those were just in our brains, but we know now that they're not. So our heart is actually a smart heart. It functions in a way as in a similar fashion to a cell phone, a smartphone in some ways. It sends and receives signals out electromagnetically, and it also sends information all the way up through our nervous systems into our brains. So those bundles, those neuron cells, live at the valve and the major artery areas where the blood comes in. And the reason that that's important to know that is because there's a particular pressure that gets activated. Our bodies are very smart. And the amount of pressure and the timing of that pressure sends out the message to our brain and the rest of our nervous system from the tips of our toes to our fingertips, all the way up to that mega processor in, our brains. And it is told by pressure and hormone and neurochemical between each and every heartbeat, which is just amazing to me that this goes on inside of my own body like this, and that I actually have the ability, as the soul, the spirit that resides in this body, to practice embodiment and learn to work in unison and harmony with the elements of this world. We need to be able to do that to live successful lives here on earth, and for our spirits to dwell in a healthy home, this organic body that we've been gifted for this beautiful experience. So understanding the power of the seat of our soul, which is in our chest, that area of the heart. When you feel something, you typically feel a gut feeling or a feeling in your chest, or you can even feel it in your throat. If they get stuck there, you're trying to hold them down or expand them. But that's why it's so vitally important to understand how to tap into feelings and how to shift. When we can do that, we release a different set of hormones and neurochemicals that send those signals all over our body, and our heart sends out that pressure signal all the way up our vagus nerves and through our vascular system, and gives a quick state of the union constantly over and over and over. And that is that heart rate variability, that throttling and gauging between each one of our heartbeats. What I love about this knowledge is that we have technology now to measure it. And once you start to become familiar with willful emoting, to shift from one feeling like frustration or anger over into a place of ease or humor, it sets off a different chemical reaction, and we literally biohack ourselves chemically when we learn how to do this. Finding a coherent state, having coherent communication between our heart and our brain is really, truly the magic that resides within us. Being able to have emotional regulation and to willfully throttle and shift. And what we'll go into on another episode is capturing the creativity and the freedom of imagination. Once you can quiet your brain down, which is a risk manager and a processor, and you start to teach it through this heart wisdom and intuition and creativity, the neural pathways and the chemicals literally, physiologically, scientifically, measurably change. And it creates an energetic field that we transmit because, our heartbeat is electricity. We're firing on electricity all day long. When we read an EKG, we're reading an electrical signal. When we're reading an EEG from the brain, those machines are tracking electrical signals. So we are these closed circuit electrical signals, we thought, but really we can radiate these emotions, these thoughts, these feelings. They carry an electrical frequency with them that we actually emit from our bodies. So we know that now as fact. We know that as science. It's not a concept. It's not the vibe attracts your tribe. It's more, there's much more to it than that. It's much more dynamic. And Coherence University is where science meets the spirit. It's where the data and the research and the innovation tap into our soul, who we are, our consciousness, and how those come together for the greater good. And there's more than just one way to do it, but starting in the fundamental practices that we're able to teach through the heart math system, and then begin to add some other work in with them, are truly, truly the secret when you hear the secret. So that's what will be unfolding here. Please drop any questions that you have in the DM section. If you'd like to learn about this in a group setting or more intensely in study in one-on-one, we do have practitioners that work in different areas, some with children, some with new mothers, corporate executives, military, first responders, police. So please definitely reach out to learn more. And if you just generally want to learn it for your own well-being, for healing, recovery, for coherent communication in your family, whatever it is that's drawn you here, that's what we are here to share with you. So thank you so much for joining us and learning more about coherence. And I look forward to hearing your feelings, thoughts, comments, whatever came to you during this cast. Okay, and until next time, stay coherent, and thank you for joining the movement of global kindness and a better world. Namaste.